Millions of kids struggle with learning, processing, and social emotional difficulties. These challenges interfere with their ability to reach their full potential. Dr. Karen Wilson is here to help. Her extensive background in pediatric neuropsychology and higher education have prepared her for this unique mission. Listen as she delivers content to inform, educate, and empower parents and educators. This will enable you to identify challenges that kids face and get them on the road to achieving their full potential. This is Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning. I'm so glad that you're here. Today, I am going to talk about something that many families are already thinking about or beginning to feel even before the school year officially starts. If your child is already becoming more emotional, irritable, avoidant, anxious, clingy, dysregulated, withdrawn, or resistant, and the school year hasn't even started yet, you are not imagining things. And honestly, you are not alone. For many neurodivergent children, the transition back to school places enormous demands on the nervous system long before the first day of school arrives. And I want to acknowledge something else right away. Children are not the only nervous systems transitioning back to school. Parents are too. Many parents are carrying worry, advocacy fatigue, fear that this school year may repeat old struggles, concerns about teacher misunderstandings, academic pressure, morning chaos, social worries, and memories of how difficult previous school years have felt. So if you're already feeling emotionally exhausted before school has even begun, that makes sense too. Because for many families of neurodivergent children, the back to school season is not just about supplies and schedules. It's about uncertainty. Will my child feel understood? Will they feel safe? Will they feel supported? Will the workload become overwhelming? Will friendships be difficult? Will we end up back in nightly homework battles and emotional meltdowns? And honestly, these concerns are valid. Because for neurodivergent students especially, school transitions can be genuinely hard. These transitions are hard because they place enormous demands on executive functioning, emotional regulation, sensory processing, attention systems, social processing, and the nervous system all at once. And one of the most important shifts parents can make is this. Difficulty with transitions is not a character flaw, which you probably already know. Many neurodivergent children are not struggling because they are unwilling. They're struggling because the demands being placed on them are exceeding the resources available to their nervous system. And when we understand that, we respond differently. So today, I'm going to talk about why school transitions can be particularly difficult for neurodivergent students, what the research tells us, what we often misunderstand, and most importantly, practical things parents can do to make this transition easier. Because the goal is not perfection, the goal is support. One of the things that research has consistently shown is that neurodivergent students often experience significantly higher levels of anxiety and stress during school transitions. One study on school transitions for autistic students found that changes in routine, unfamiliar environments, social uncertainty, and increased demands often contribute to heightened anxiety and emotional distress during transitions. That makes sense neurologically because predictability helps the brain feel safe. And many neurodivergent children rely heavily on predictability to regulate attention, emotion, behavior, sensory experiences, and cognitive functioning. So when routines suddenly shift, even positive shifts, the brain has to work harder. And this is where adults sometimes become confused. We may think, but my child liked school last year, or they're excited to see their friends, or they wanted to go back. But children can absolutely feel excited and anxious at the same time. So here's something to remember. Preparation reduces uncertainty, and uncertainty fuels anxiety. And so if we keep that in mind, that will be tremendously helpful with the transition back to school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share 7 practical ways parents can help neurodivergent children transition back to school more successfully. I can't guarantee it's going to be perfect, but it can be helpful. Number 1, start preparing early. Do not wait until the night before school starts to suddenly shift routines, expectations, and schedules. Many neurodivergent children do best when the environment becomes more predictable before the demands increase. And that may mean gradually adjusting sleep schedules, starting morning routines early, practicing packing backpacks, reviewing schedules, or doing practice runs of the school commute. And be gradual. Do not suddenly move bedtime 2 hours earlier overnight. Instead, try shifting bedtime earlier by about 15 to 20 minutes every few nights leading up to school. That is much easier on the nervous system. And this becomes even more important for children transitioning to middle school, high school, or a completely new school environment, because novelty increases cognitive load. And when cognitive load increases, emotional regulation often decreases. Number 2, reduce unnecessary surprises. One of the best things parents can do is increase familiarity before school begins. For students starting at a new school, that may include visiting the school, walking around the campus, reviewing maps, looking at classroom locations if you can, meeting teachers beforehand, or taking pictures of important places like the classroom, the bathroom, the locker, cafeteria, or pickup area. These things may seem small to adults, but familiarity reduces stress. And for many neurodivergent children, the brain handles transitions better when things feel previewed instead of unpredictable. And adults can sometimes underestimate just how many transitions happen simultaneously at the beginning of the school year. It's not just a new school. It may involve new classmates, new teachers, new social expectations, new lunch routines, new sensory experiences, new transportation systems, new academic demands, and increased independence. That is a lot of change. For some children, simply figuring out, where do I sit? Who do I talk to? What if I say the wrong thing? What if things feel too loud, too chaotic, too unpredictable? Those questions can create enormous internal stress long before parents see outward behavior. So that is why we want to reduce unnecessary surprises. Number 3, externalize executive functioning. Many back-to-school struggles are not about motivation at all. They're about executive functioning overload. Suddenly, children are expected to wake up earlier, remember materials, manage schedules, organize assignments, transition between tasks, monitor time, regulate attention, and navigate social demands all day long. That is a tremendous amount of cognitive work, especially after a summer with much less structure. And this is where parents can help tremendously. Instead of relying on children to mentally hold everything in their heads or their working memory systems, externalize the demands. And what I mean by that is use visual checklists, use whiteboards, phone reminders, step-by-step routines, color-coded folders, or launch pads near the door where everything stays in one predictable location. Again, the goal is not perfection. The goal is reducing cognitive load. Because when executive functioning demands exceed capacity, children often look unmotivated, careless, forgetful, and even oppositional. But really, oftentimes, they're overwhelmed. And one of the most compassionate shifts parents can make is moving from, why aren't they doing this, to what's making this hard? That question changes everything. So we can help them prepare for things that might be hard by externalizing executive functioning. Number 4, Build decompression time into the day, not after the meltdown, before, because we want to support regulation before dysregulation happens. Many neurodivergent students appear fine at school and then completely fall apart at home. And many parents are often very confused by this. But many children spend the entire school day monitoring themselves, suppressing stress, masking, navigating sensory overload, trying to meet expectations, and working incredibly hard to hold it all together. And by the time they get home, their nervous systems are exhausted. So build decompression time into the routine. For many children, this may mean 20 minutes of quiet, a snack, swinging outside, music, drawing, movement, a trampoline, video game downtime, or simply not talking immediately after pickup. And let me tell you, one of the least effective questions for many children is, how was school? Especially immediately after pickup, because many children are cognitively and emotionally depleted. So instead of, how was school? Try, I'm happy to see you. What felt easy today? What felt hard today? Do you want to talk now or later? Or honestly, sometimes saying nothing at all for a few minutes is the right thing to do. I really want parents to hear this. After school dysregulation does not necessarily mean the school day went well and that they were just holding it together all day. Sometimes it means the child used every ounce of energy to survive the day. And I think we have confused performance with well-being. And a child who is coping is not always a child who is thriving. So I think it's important to keep that in mind and to, again, make sure that we are building in compression time into the day. And sometimes and oftentimes, immediately after school is the perfect time to do that. Number 5, prepare for social stress proactively. Social dynamics become more complicated every year. And for many neurodivergent students, they may struggle with reading social cues, understanding hidden social rules, interpreting tone, initiating conversation, or navigating peer expectations. And school transitions intensify this because social groups often shift over the summer. Friendships change, social hierarchies change, and children worry about fitting in. And for some children, especially those who have experienced bullying or exclusion, returning to school may feel emotionally unsafe. And that is why emotional preparation matters just as much as academic preparation. One helpful strategy is role-playing situations ahead of time. And that doesn't always work with all children, but it can be helpful for some. And you want to do so not in a scary or interrogating way, but gently helping children mentally rehearse situations. Like, what can you do if you don't know someone in your class? What can you do if you feel overwhelmed? How can you ask for help? What helps your body feel calm? Because again, confidence grows with preparation. We can't eliminate every stressor. We absolutely cannot. But we can reduce how alone children feel by helping them navigate situations in the classroom. Number 6, support sensory regulation proactively. Schools can be incredibly overstimulating environments. The bright lights, the crowded hallways, the noise, chaotic cafeterias, strong smells, constant transitions, and unexpected sounds. And when children are anxious, sensory sensitivity often increases. So think proactively about sensory supports before problems escalate and even anticipate them. And that may include making sure your child has noise-reducing headphones, sensory tools, comfortable clothing, movement breaks, hydration, protein-rich snacks, or identifying quiet spaces at school. One of the best approaches is proactive regulation, because once a child is overwhelmed, the thinking brain is often no longer fully online. So having conversation with your child's teacher about your child's sensory sensitivities and ensuring they have the tools and strategies to manage those sensitivities can be incredibly helpful. Number 7, collaborate with schools before problems emerge. Research continues to emphasize the importance of collaboration between families and schools. Parents often know things about their child that schools never fully see in a classroom setting. Parents know what triggers overwhelm, what helps regulation, what sensory sensitivities exist, what coping strategies work, and what signs indicate a child is beginning to struggle. That information matters. And this is a great time to revisit accommodations and support before problems emerge, not after, because prevention is always easier than crisis management. Before the transition back to school is a great time to review IEPs and 504 plans and look at what support is helping your child access learning successfully and not just complying with expectations. Support is about helping children access expectations successfully. That's what it should be about. It's not simply, can they sit still? Can they stay quiet? Can they keep up? So look at the IEPs, look at the 504 plans, and have discussions with your child and with the school, because what you want to ensure is that when they transition back to school, they feel safe, they feel supported, they feel understood, and that they feel regulated enough to learn. Because again, and I can't say this enough, children learn best when their nervous systems feel safe. I want to leave parents with this thought, parents and caregivers. Transitions are hard, and that's because growth is hard. Even positive growth can feel uncomfortable, and neurodivergent students often spend enormous amounts of energy adapting to environments that were not designed with their brains in mind. So if your child struggles with transitioning back to school, that does not mean that they are being oppositional, that they are failing, that they really enjoyed their summer and they want to stay there. And it does not mean that you're failing as a parent. Sometimes it simply means that their nervous system needs more support, more predictability, more compassion, or more time. When children feel understood, when adults proactively reduce unnecessary stress by preparation, when schools and families collaborate, when supports are individualized, and when children are given tools, transitions become easier. Again, they're not perfect, they're not stress-free, but they're more manageable. And over time, children and teens build confidence, not because transitions are removed, but because they experience those transitions with support. I hope you found this information helpful. Thank you so much for listening. And again, if this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with another parent or caregiver who's preparing for the back to school transition. Until next time, take care.
Thanks for listening to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus. For more resources, visit us online at childnexus.com.